Hi, Greg.
Paul, is my audio on?
Yeah, I heard you there.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Hi, Greg.
Hey. Hey, Bonnie.
Hey, Greg. All right.
Good evening. Let's see who else I see. Paul's on, Deb's on, Melissa and Mike, Patty, Mark, Richard, Dan. I come on twice because I'm on audio and video separately. Okay. We got like a minute or so. Paul, is there other people looking to get on?
Yeah, Jeff is trying to get on. I admitted him. It says he's joining.
Okay. All right. Do we know who 3910134? Let's see here. Okay, that's Clay and Ann. Okay. Dan, is Lynn going to be joining us? Dan's on mute. Okay. All right, Paul, check again. Is there anybody else lined up to come online, or are we set?
No, just Jeff's. Looks like he's having trouble joining. It just says joining.
Okay, we'll give him a minute.
Well, Greg, I'm glad that Bruce and I have nothing to do with the financial aspect of that, since we just now got home from a wicked losing game of Monopoly.
Aha. Board games. The fun of the past with board games. It's like a lost art. The young kids probably hardly know what they are.
That's right.
They used to have marathon game when I was in college. I wasn't into board games, but at the time, yeah, marathon games of Risk. That would take, sometimes more than an evening. I have to go the next day. Crazy. Some of those are pretty in depth.
Royal and Nick, our oldest, used to play Risk over several days with the youth group.
Mm-hmm.
They'd play it weeks for a week or two at a time.
Yeah, I've seen those things happening as well.
Yeah.
You got to be into the long-term strategy. There's some higher games in that too. Things that are more complicated, more sophisticated. They sell. Well, let's do this, Paul. I'm just going to check one more time. Is there anybody else? Otherwise, we'll jump right in.
Nobody's waiting now.
Okay. Well, let's go get rolling. Appreciate everybody here getting together. I sent an agenda about midday, so hopefully we got a copy of that. And we'll go ahead and reference that. I know that last week Bonnie mentioned they had a little bit of a setback at their house, something they're working with. So we do want to eventually get these minutes back together. So I assume Bonnie will be able to follow up. I didn't see anything come through for last call. Is that correct?
I'm not hearing you very well.
Did the minutes get through?
Yes, I emailed the minutes, all of them to you and Melissa. Did you not get them?
I didn't notice them come through, but I get a lot of emails through.
You know what?
Yeah.
I saw them, but I thought they were only the two, not the most current. So I missed that they were all three. So that was on me. Sorry.
We'll pull those back up. I know that Melissa and I touched base. I mean, we want to follow the expectations of the township clerks as far as posting them, but obviously these are audio captured for review, which is great if people want to follow in that fashion, or we'll go ahead and look at what you sent. So thanks, Bonnie. That's back on us. So appreciate it. We'll go ahead and look at that and bring it back up. I think the third one we'll have to probably bring up the next meeting just to get concurrence. With that, we did have one of the segments that the intent was to cover tonight, and then we have one that, as my understanding, is still open. We're going to check on that under the third item here. So, Dan, I wanted to turn it over to you. You picked up segment 3, dealing with reclamation and the concept of density. So if I could pass the mic to you and you can walk through what you want to share as far as what your observations were about the county versus the Gneeson or other source comparison. I'll go ahead. You facilitate that with the group. Dan, I see you're not muted. Oh, he's in the process of connecting. Did he fall off, Paul?
Yeah.
Dan, are you online?
Coming back in.
Yeah. Okay. Paul, was he on long enough to know that I introduced him, or do we need to
No, he had gotten out, and I think he's back in as Lynn, right?
I see Lynn on as well. Yep. She's muted though.
Okay,
So
Dan.
either Lynn or Dan. Either Lynn or Dan, one or both of you connected? Can you hear me?
I'm here.
Great, Lynn. Well, we're looking for you and or Dan to speak to segment 3.
Dan was supposed to put something together and has not done it yet. So I'm not sure, and he's not joining our meeting. So I'm not sure what to tell you.
It's not. Okay, well,
What I
let's make
got.
for a shorter meeting.
I know.
Okay, well, yeah. Well, let me make a couple of comments, having re-reviewed it in advance of the call, and we'll have Dan back up. As is the case with this subject, or what Mark's going to handle. Mark and yourself, Lynn, are working on the issue around the finance and administrative side of it, which I know you sent out a survey, which we'll talk about in just a second, but we don't want to wait too long because we have a fairly accelerated schedule to try to take the input and then consolidate it down to something in a narrative that can be redistributed for very specific input. But in any case, at a high level, the two things in that were the reclamation and density, two different subjects. Actually, in the reclamation realm, I didn't really see a lot that was different. Dan may find other things, particularly if he has other sources, so I'm all ears. But there wasn't much that was different between the county and the township.
Right.
However, I think when we speak to that, and this is just thinking forward in the report, again, I referenced the concept of life cycle. I think we're going to get into more, not so much that there's a difference on the idea around reclamation, but that it's only at the end of the life of a pit, and so it's obviously less frequent. But there's probably more to be talked about as far as following the standards, inspection, violations, enforcement, and then in the case of Gneissen having an annual review as a means of just administering that process. And I've heard comments. I've got to get into more details as we put together a report, but I've heard comments that the county either isn't staffed or hasn't necessarily followed that type of regimen. So it's part of the concern that I think is being raised, that even if there are violations, or to the extent that violations are identified, this doesn't deal with issuing a cup or not, but again, looking at what's in the best interest of the residents is that if there are issues identified, that they be resolved and ultimately come to the point of reclamation to be something of repurposing the land, both aesthetically and functionally. So again, I don't see a whole lot of differences. I think it's a matter of closer administration of what's in place in either case. That was my takeaway. And then again, the other concept was density, and I'll wait for Dan to bring it back up. But that's a pretty refined, maybe even overly regimented concept that Gneissen has. I mean, it's granular down to a checkerboard. It seems like that might be a bridge too far, but it is something that is obviously a difference. So again, we want to make sure we don't overlook Dan speaking to that or us having a conversation on that. But it has to be a different meeting apparently. So if there's anything else on that, people have ideas. Again, we're trying to continue to move forward. If anyone has strong feelings on either of those subjects, they could share them. Otherwise, we'll just move to the next item on the agenda.
So like the only thing really I noticed different, we talk about the annual inspection that Gneissen has. And I think one thing with reclamation, technically you're supposed to do always be reclamating as you're moving along the pit. So being able to have that yearly inspection would help a company not get so far they can never fix their mistakes, but fix them year to year. So if they have an error, it would be much less, and it would be easier for everybody to fix the errors and then move forward on that. So I do like how Gneissen does that. It might be a little tedious, and we don't have to be as detailed as Gneissen, but I like how they keep on it year to year, so we don't get off in 10 years to have some really bad fix that's needed. So that's just my thought.
Right. Yep. Yeah. Interestingly, again, I don't want to minimize the time tonight, and I don't want to also minimize Dan weighing back in at a future point. But there is the current concurrent reclamation. That's actually the first item in both ordinances. And I don't know if Todd Kineski or somebody else that's an operator wants to speak to this. I see Todd's on tonight. I don't know how practical it is, but interestingly enough, it is something that shows up as the first of a list of ordinance-related requirements. So when people look at how this is beneficial or managed in harmony with other purposes, I don't know if reclamation is why these requirements both show up the same, and yet there's a question as to whether either are being adhered to. I don't know if there's more understanding we can gain from somebody explaining that better or not. But yeah, you're right, Melissa. That does show up in both ordinances.
Greg, this is Todd Kineski. I'm having a very difficult time understanding you tonight. You're breaking up pretty badly.
Okay, let me change something. Is that better, Todd?
Yes, you're coming in better.
If I'm not coming in sufficient, I'll just take the headset off. Can you hear me clearly enough or is it still poor?
You're coming in clearer now. I heard my name come up and something about reclamation, but I didn't quite hear your question.
Sure. So what Melissa pointed out, and I noticed as well when I re-reviewed the material, that both the county and the township start off by talking about reclamation being a concurrent process, concurrent reclamation, meaning, as I interpret it, as a particular property is exhausted or removal takes place, it's not a end of life once singular process. It's reclamation as you progress through a facility, extracting the product. And I don't know if that's something that is what you believe to be an adhered to process, that it shows up and it's part of the nature of how this extraction takes place, or whether that's part of an ordinance that is impractical in light of an operator's point of view.
I believe it is a practical use. That ordinance was new to me up until recently here, and I believe that is something. It's anything over 10 acres, you need to start reclaiming, and that's feasible with our gravel pits.
Okay. All right. Well, good. Well, again, we'll give Dan an opportunity. It has to be at the next call because we are trying to tighten this up. But
Right?
Yes.
I did, for mine, I did cover density in mine, so maybe somebody can go into more detail, but I did cover that, our first speaker, second speaker, whatever, in my report, I did cover density.
Appreciate that, Patty. You're coming in real light into my headset, Patty, but I did hear you. Okay. Well, if there's anything else that this weigh in, otherwise we'll move through the agenda more quickly since we don't have another associated queued up for today. Another report queued up for today. Okay. If not, Mark and Lynn, you can see under item 3. Right now, it's targeted for next Monday. I know I went back and looked at again the survey you sent out. I don't know how broadly you sent it out, but I thought I'd just check in for the benefit of the group how that's coming along as far as any feedback you're getting.
Greg, Mark here.
Mark, hey Mark.
We did receive a response to the questionnaire from Midway Township. And then we did a follow-up conversation with them for clarification and some answers, some additional questions and answers exchange. The other 3 townships have confirmed that they are in receipt of the questionnaire and are referring it to the appropriate staff. Some of them, it requires 2 or 3 different staff members to respond to the questions, whether it be financial or, zoning coordinator or whatever the case may be. All of them said that during the holidays, it's a little more challenging to get, information responded to. So I'm anticipating that next week to reach out again and touch base with them to see what the status is of their being able to respond to the questionnaire.
Okay. All right. Appreciate that. Yeah, if we talk about the schedules, it's going to be fairly tight, and I'm going to go through that and hopefully enough detail that everybody understands what we're trying to accomplish and can actually provide some input if they see a gap in what we're doing. Again, it'd be nice to have more calendar time, but we're trying to move this at a fairly quick pace, and there's a big lift in the middle of that, which is the semblance of the report itself. We'll look to hear maybe a little bit more detail, Mark and Lynn, next Monday. Even if you only have a portion of people providing feedback, hopefully you can provide some color to what you are hearing. So I'll keep that on the agenda at this point. And then the other item, I mentioned this prior, so I won't try to beat a dead horse, but we'll bring some report format back to the group. So how we're looking to match up with the ask of the application with the focus on the items that were listed with that. Getting into a report, again, trying to draw from the work that people have done with comparison as well as other references, and then ultimately having that summarized with a recommendation, obviously with a report looking to support or substantiate that. So that'll be something to be looking for next Monday on January the 4th. And that actually takes us to number 4. So appreciate Mark sharing. I think everybody got a copy. He put a little bit of structure into what he thought as a template of sorts for multi-step process. I took that and tied it with some dates, realizing that our product is going to the board, and the board is looking to have that in a timely enough fashion to digest it, probably have one or more meetings themselves. And so, as you can see, with the end in mind, looking to really complete the report activity, which is in summary what will conclude our efforts by the end of next month, by the end of January. So if we just walk through this, so make sure we're all on the same page again, looking for any input people have either on the call, or if you want to get back to me, it takes a while to digest it via email, that's fine. But we did go through under 4A both making known the comparative documents that were out there, whether it be the county versus the township or other associated literature that largely Melissa had put out with links, so people were able to at least, hopefully with ease, get access to and review that. We have gone through a good portion of those sections. Again, I've stated I'm going to be looking for things that are materially different and meaningful, not just there's differences. So again, with a focus on the objective of how do we best serve the residents, protect the interests of the residents of the township. And then we just talked about under 4B, we have a little bit of review left in light of 2 outstanding items. I'm, again, not expecting a lot necessarily back on what we just touched on briefly with reclamation and density, because I don't think it's a really substantive area, although I'm open to what Dan brings forward. However, I expect there would likely be a fair amount of substance associated with the administrative and cost side because of the strong interest, I think, on the part of everybody, but also the fact that both Mark and Lynn have taken the effort to go out and actually search out fresh, current input via a survey and conversations with other townships. So I think that's has a lot of merit potential to have a large portion of what we put into the report. So hopefully that under 4B can in fact be accomplished by the 4th. And the reason being is we really want to take the next couple weeks after that and hunker down and take this information and distill it into a narrative. Right now we have a lot of free-formed input, which I appreciate, but there's going to be a revisiting of that and put into a consistent flow with a mapping to the ask of the township. So there's intended to be a concerted effort from January 4th to 17th. I put in there, note these are not meetings. It's just calendar time that people are going to have to spend digesting and recapturing this information. Right now, I'm not looking for volunteers. I know that Melissa and I will be heavily involved. Everybody's going to have the opportunity to edit or to review, and probably more than once. But as we get closer to it, if there's people that have a strong interest of participating and want to take some ownership, that might be helpful. And again, I think because of the nature of what Lynn and Mark are doing, that might be one of the areas I'll just, jump on front. That might be one of the areas that they're going to be well versed in light of the amount of time they're spending. Again, in some cases, it sounds like with active dialogue. So we'll see. But we are really trying to put in a 2-week window enough on paper that we have the semblance of a draft. And then that would ideally go out both for review on the 18th, which is a Monday, and then that week I think we may, depending on how the conversations take place, pick up a meeting on the Thursday, the 21st as well. So looking for review. Now, in the line of work I have, we literally document contracts and otherwise via red line, explicit input and edits. We'll see how that plays. It ultimately has to come down to that level of input. If there's people that have alternative ways I'd like to see things presented or have you, but we'll see how much is going to be conceptual and conversation versus literal in the written word. We have to have some blending of that in order to produce a product within a timely fashion. So, you know, we might a little bit learn as we go, but in either case, the week of the 18th is intended for right now 2 group gatherings to discuss what's in draft form. And then it shows under 4E, really cleaning that up for the following week, which hopefully is assembled in a near production ready document. There's always room for editing, fine tuning, and that pushes us with the discussions and any additional updates that week to completion by the 29th, which I believe is a Friday. So pretty good pace. That's what we're looking to do over the coming, I guess it's 5 weeks if you include this week. So, any questions on that?
Greg, do you think we're going to actually be meeting on January 11th then? It's a Monday.
No. Let me look at the calendar here. No, I don't. I think there's, let's just be candid. It's a pretty thing here. I was gonna look at my calendar on my phone. It's a pretty serious task to take this somewhat disparate information, although it relates obviously to the same subject overall, and to put it into in my mind, and put it into a response that's meaningful for the audience, which is a wide cross section of people for and against and neutral on this. And really tie back to what is in the best interest, or does the county sufficiently protect the interests of the residents or not? And then again with some specifics that could be put into a recommendation. So no, I see no meeting that week. I see that as a head down, cranking through, review, reference, capturing of it. I don't see us surfacing with a product for anybody till the 18th. That's my sense of it.
Okay, so do you think then, so we'll send out a revised schedule for everybody to look at and know, but just going off this, do you think basically then we should have our meeting on the 4th again, then on the 18th, then on the 21st, which is a Thursday, the 25th, which is a Monday, and then the 28th if needed?
I just popped the calendar. So, yeah, we have the 4th, hopefully with both Lynn, Dan, and Mark on the report out. Then we pretty much, based on whoever's going to be involved or take ownership, again, I think it'd be a subset. Might just be 3-4 people or something. Yeah, we're going to run till the end of the week. We will not have another meeting till the 18th. That's the way I'm viewing it. So the 18th, 21st, we should reserve 4th, 18th, 21st, 25th, 28th. Yeah, that makes sense.
All right, good. All right, just making sure we're on the same page.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. It took me a while to get my calendar up. Too many windows open. Okay. All right. Well, I know in business there's no harm in dropping a call early. We can give back people's time. Efficiency is a good thing, but I don't want to cut anybody short. Again, that's the lay of the land through the end of the next month. Constructive input's obviously welcomed anytime during the process, but if we get too far late in the process, it's going to be difficult to build it back in. So if people are coming across other sources of good reference material, please bring it forward as soon as possible. It doesn't have to be associated with an area that you took a little extra effort to review. It could be, getting anywhere within the overall intent of what we're trying to accomplish. So I want to keep an open mind. Some people have taken ownership already. Some people have not so much. So those that haven't actually taken as active a role, if you have anything that you've been kind of sitting on, or maybe you want to speak up at some point, I would say either reach out to Melissa or I so we can get you on the agenda, or send it to the broad distribution list if it's associated with what we're trying to accomplish here, and make sure you get your voice heard. With that, I guess I guess just check to make sure there's no reason not to adjourn the call. If not, okay, I guess we're good to go. Okay, everybody on video, give you a shake. Have a good rest of the week. Happy New Year's.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.